Welcome back to It's a Veins Thing. Today I'm going to tell you the story about how I actually became diabetic, and also discovering that I had cancer in my eye. So I actually was at South Carolina State getting my graduate degree in counselor education, and in undergrad, I played in a band in the Marching 101. So my band director was like, well, since you're still here, can you help out and be a band manager? So I became a band manager, and being a band manager is a lot of work. I mean, you can imagine trying to take care of 300 plus people, uniforms, everything that will go with the uniform, the spats, the gloves, the shoes, all that stuff. And it's, something I enjoy. So, I think one night at practice, I felt like I had to keep, going to the restroom, and nothing was really just quenching my thirst. And so I was like, okay, something is just not right. And, I really do pay attention to my body. And that's the thing. I know that some people, things start to happen with your body. Just like, oh, no, I'm gonna be okay. I'm not going to go to the doctor. But sometimes, like I've said before, sometimes if you catch stuff in the beginning, it makes it a little easier. So that night I just kept saying something's wrong. So the next day I went to the clinic on our campus, and I came in and I was telling my symptoms, how nothing was quenching my thirst, just really going to the restroom, and I mean for a long time. And so finally they said, well, let's just check your your blood sugar. So they checked my sugar, and my sugar was at 374. And of course, for me, I really didn't know. I mean, although I do have family members who are alive and deceased that have diabetes, I still wasn't sure of everything that goes along with it. I know, you have to watch what you eat, and checking your sugar and things like that. So when the doctor said we need to give you some insulin like right now, and so I was fine, and then it's just like I think it kind of hit me really hard. I just started crying because I was scared. I'm by myself, there's nobody to talk to, so the doctor just kind of told me what I needed to do, and they quickly started me on this pill called metformin. So of course I called my mom, and she was sad too, because for any parent, you want to prevent your kids from getting any disease. And with diabetes, I know people say it runs in their family, but it's not that you get it from like genetically. It's because of just how you eat. And so, and my mom always really made sure that I, ate very well. I stayed active, especially when I was little. She made sure I stayed active in a lot of things, not just eating a lot of junk food and things like that, but also diabetes can also come out because of stress. So that's one thing that I think a lot of diseases come out because of stress. And so, of course, it's easier said than done, but, you definitely try your best to not be stressed, or, find something that'll keep you calm. And so, basically, once I told my mom, and it was closer to me actually graduating from grad school, so she was just like, well, let's, get you back home to Atlanta, because, the healthcare in Atlanta is very good, and you do have some really good doctors. And it's not to say that, there are no good doctors where I was at school, but it's just, Atlanta was my home. And so once I graduated, I came on back home and went to several doctors, and it was very hard because they would say I was type 2, which is the one you pretty much should take your pill, or you can reverse it by just watching your diet, losing weight. But I wasn't, very big. And so then I went to another doctor, and they're like, oh, you may be type 1. And so finally I got to a doctor, actually my former assistant principal referred me to him. And so I went to him, and that's when he started telling me about the insulin pump. And at first when I told my mom about it, you know, she was kind of, oh, I don't know. And I have ended up taking the injections instead, because the pills stopped working for me. And then when I was taking metformin in the beginning, it really would mess up your stomach. Now I think they have one that's a little bit better, but it's just one of those pills that some people can take and some people can't. And actually, before I even got on the pump, I ended up going to, I think it's called diabetic ketosis. I think that's how you say it. I could be saying it wrong, but it's basically where your body is kind of shutting down. And I started kind of losing some weight. And my nurse at my school actually told me, she said, when your body starts losing weight like that and you're diabetic, that means you're going in, you know, into that. And so not realizing that, and I kept asking my mom too. I said, Mom, do I seem like I'm losing, you know, weight? I seem like I'm kind of getting smaller. And she was just like, no. And to me, I felt like I was actually looking like sick. Like I was very like skinny up here, almost like this, like your sternum, like this part was to me poking out. And, you know, everybody was like, no, you know, you look fine. And so, but sure enough, I ended up in the hospital. And when I tell you they checked my sugar every hour, like that right there made me really want to stay on top of being diabetic. And it's very hard to switch a lot of things, because when you become diabetic, it's no longer, you know, being able to eat your favorite candy, you know, or whatever snacks you like to eat. Of course, you have to eat in moderation, but like you really have to be careful, because you can lose your limbs, your eyesight, things like that. And so and that's not something I wanted, so I said, well, let me make sure I stay on top of it. So yeah, it's a disease that, you know, sometimes you're okay, and then a lot of times you're just like, you know, you're in your little zone where you just don't want to be bothered. And sometimes it's hard, because while other people are just, you know, eating and stuff like that, you're having to, okay, let me check my sugar first. Let me see, you know, what is my sugar. And then once you check your sugar, then you gotta look at, okay, well, how many carbs are, you know, in this meal. So instead of just sitting down and kind of enjoying, like, let me just go ahead and eat, you know, I'm having to every single day, really for the rest of my life, have to kind of check, you know, my sugar, my carbs. But I do have a app called Go Meals, and it really does help, because it has all of the different restaurants, you know, from Chick-fil-A to Pizza Hut, Olive Garden. So if there's certain things that you want to eat, you can actually go in there, look at the carbs, the sodium, whatever you need to look for as far as nutritional facts. You can look that up. So that does kind of save me some time, because I can look at it, and after a while, certain things you kind of know, okay, this is probably how many carbs it's going to be, because you're so used to eating certain things. So sometimes it will get a little easier. But then, you know, sometimes you have people come to you and say, you know, you shouldn't be eating that. And, you know, on one hand, yes, I'm happy to have people who are, you know, want to help me with my health. But then sometimes that can kind of be, honestly, kind of get on your nerves, because it's like, okay, I'm just like everybody else. You know, I want to have a nice treat, or, you know, some ice cream or apple pie or something like that. So pretty much, you know, I actually have an insulin pump, which looks like this. And that actually is connected to my body. And so every 3 days, I actually have to put, you know, like a new tube of it in there. And it's really not that bad like people think. It's just a little thing that you kind of pull back. And once you push into your skin, it's just like a real small, like, plastic piece that goes, you almost like when you get an IV now and they pull it out, it's just like a little plastic piece. So it doesn't, you know, hurt. I've had some moments where some would kind of poke out, and then you have to, you know, get a whole new thing and reinsert it, but it's really not that bad. And you just disconnect it when you go and, you know, take a shower and then put it back. So I really like the insulin pump, because it also alerts you every 2 hours to check your sugar, you know, because especially being a teacher, it becomes very busy in the classroom. Also, once you put in what your sugar is, and then you put in what your carbs, it will calculate everything together for you. And see, when I was taking the insulin, it was a little bit different with the needle. You know, we had to do more calculations and trying to figure out how much insulin to put in your body. And if you put too much, you know, that can drop your sugar, and you know, that's not a good feeling for me at all. But now, you know, I'm doing okay. I have the insulin pump and I really like it. It's really just become a way of life. And, you know, now that I have my little one, I just try to make sure I do the right thing. So, and in my next vlog, I'll actually talk to you about as far as how I found out that I had cancer in my eye. Bye.